Trump enrages the rhinos with a major endorsement. Ken Paxton joins us. Let's check it out. And welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight, 7 p.m. right here on the East Coast. Primary election night. The polls closing right now in a number of states, including Kentucky, where Trump wants to oust Republican critic Thomas Massie and replace him with a guy named Ed Galbraith. Polls also closing in Alabama, where Senator Tommy Tuberville should take the Republican nomination quickly and then cruise right into office as the state's next governor. In Alabama and in Georgia, you have 3 Republicans vying to be governor as well. We're going to dive into all of this coming up here in just a few minutes on this primary night. But first, we're going to start with the big news of the day, and that was Trump today making a massive endorsement that I think shocked the establishment Republican Party. Trump endorsing Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton over the state's sitting Senator John Cornyn. It is the first time in nearly a century that the president has endorsed the challenger to a sitting senator. J.D. Vance, the vice president, handled a press briefing today, and he responded to that surprise endorsement right after it happened. Take a listen.
We think Ken Paxton is going to be a great senator for the people of Texas, but most importantly, a great United States senator who can work on solving the problems that all of us confront as a country together. When it really counted, Ken Paxton was there for the country, was there for the president, and that's why he ultimately earned the president's endorsement. I think the message that people should take from this is fundamentally, you have got to serve the people who sent you. And if you don't do that, you're going to find yourself out of step with voters or out of step with the president of the United States, and that's not a good place to be politically.
In the end, Paxton is just a much better conservative and a far more effective politician. That election comes up in a week from now, by the way. Paxton gets things done, a constant fighter for the conservative cause, filing dozens of lawsuits against the ridiculous policies that we saw during the Biden administration as Joe Biden tried to shred the sovereignty of this country with open borders. Paxton was one of the strongest Republicans trying to stand in his way. At the same time, Senator John Cornyn was pushing the Republican Party to move on from Donald Trump during the Biden administration. In 2023, Cornyn saying, I think Trump's time has passed him by. I think what's the most important thing for me is that we have a candidate who can actually win in 2024, saying he didn't think President Trump understands when you run in a general election, you have to appeal to voters beyond your base. How ridiculous does that quote sound right now? Trump ended up running the best campaign for president, maybe in history, trouncing Kamala Harris and winning every single swing state in the country after John Cornyn said that he doesn't have the broad appeal to win another national election. A lot of people said that. Today, you could tell that Trump's shock endorsement of Ken Paxton was not sitting well at all with establishment Republicans. Here's the Senate leader.
I think you all know my position on this issue. I've made it very clear for months now. And Senator Cornyn is a principled conservative. He is a very effective senator for the state of Texas. But none of us control what the president does. He made his decision about that. That doesn't change the way I feel. I am certainly supportive of, will continue to be supportive of Senator Cornyn and his reelection.
Yeah, well, to the tune of around $130 million that he has spent to try and secure John Cornyn in that seat, to try and fight off Ken Paxton. That was a very calm John Thune. He's a lot angrier than that, I would imagine, in private. Reporters quoting angry Republican senators, rhino senators like Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, not understanding it, disturbed by it. Jerry Moran from Kansas was saddened by this. Former Arizona Senator Jeff Flake, a big-time rhino, jumping on CNN, of course, to say that this is very bad for the Republican Party.
Republicans are going to face real headwinds come November in the midterms, and they may still win Texas, although this puts it in jeopardy. Republicans all over Washington are really concerned today, but it's bad news for Republicans.
Is it? Do these people understand Texas and the enthusiasm behind a real Republican that actually produces results, which is what Ken Paxton's been doing for years now? Along with Trump's appreciation for Paxton's political record, there are other elements that were at play as well. For months, Trump has pushed the SAVE Act, as you know, requiring voter ID and proof of citizenship to vote in American elections. Nearly 90% of the people in this country approve of that idea. They want that done. And Senate Leader John Thune has refused to make it happen, refusing to end the filibuster to push it past Democrats who benefit from dirty elections, even though their constituents don't even want them to. Trump has been furious over this, over the SAVE Act. That certainly played into this, of course. Also, Trump's $1 billion White House ballroom, which now needs congressional approval. The Senate parliamentarian ruling Republicans can't include funding for this in a budget bill, which now puts that ballroom in doubt, even though they've already done all the demolition work and there's a huge hole in the side of the White House. Senate Leader John Thune refusing to fire the parliamentarian at Trump's request. All of that, no doubt, making it much easier for Trump to endorse the non-establishment Ken Paxton, to make the right choice here, even though everyone in Washington was pushing him to stick with Cornyn. After Thune and Republicans, of course, spent, as I said, $130 million trying to protect John Cornyn from Ken Paxton. All right, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton joins us now. Sir, it's good to see you again. It was a heck of a day for you. I want to start right there. The president called you this morning, I understand. Talk about that and what this means.
Look, it's a great day. When the president endorses you, it's the gold standard for endorsements. It's the most amazing endorsement of my lifetime. Yeah. And it always makes a difference because people have such tremendous respect, particularly in the Republican Party, for what he's accomplished as president and the kind of person he is. So his endorsement, there's nothing like it that I've ever seen in my lifetime. No other endorsement of any other politician seems to matter more than his.
Yeah, and you guys had a phone call this morning, and that's how you kind of got clued in that it might happen. It took that long for you to know.
Yeah, I found out this morning. He said, well, he didn't even say it was an endorsement. He said, I think you're going to like what I'm going to do. And then he talked about endorsements in general, and then we talked about how long we had left in the race, and a couple hours later, the endorsement was out. It was pretty awesome.
Because, I mean, it's a huge deal, right? I mean, this is not something that you ever see happen where the president endorses the challenger to a sitting senator. It hasn't happened in a very long time in this country. It's a big deal. It's a big moment for you.
It's a huge moment. I mean, we're in the middle of a very contested race where the challenger has access to D.C. money and unlimited fundraising limits, and probably going to end up spending $150 million. So it does help when you're trying to go against the establishment, the Washington machine, the Washington money.
Yes.
It really does help to have the president's endorsement when you're trying to get the truth out. And he's part of getting the truth out. He's a big part of getting the truth out, and people respect it, and I think it's going to make a huge difference in my race.
I suspect it'll make all the difference. We're going to see what wins, $150 million or Trump's endorsement and your hard work, and also just your popularity in the state and your ability to get things done, which I just went into. You're an effective Republican, and you're more effective than the guy you're up against. The Rhinos think you're going to lose to James Tallarico, though, in November. They think, oh, if you win this primary, it's over for Republicans in Texas. What do you say to that?
Well, first of all, that's a great talking point when you have nothing else to run on, but that's all it is a talking point. We've held the Republican state with no statewide officials being Democrats since 1994. I've run 3 statewide races successfully. With a whole lot less money. And this guy, James Tallarico, holds views that maybe work in California or Massachusetts, but they're not going to work in Texas. And once people hear that he thinks God's non-binary and some of the other issues that he's promoted, I don't think Texans are going to go for it. So I love that John Cornyn wants to run me into the ground before we get to the general election. Right. But the reality is it's a talking point only. It's not backed up by any polling, because the polling suggests that I either do as well or better than John Cornyn against James Tallarico.
Yeah, well, we got 1 week, so this came at a great moment, just 1 week to go. So near the finish line here, Cornyn said that, or Cornyn, as we know, abandoned the president in 2023. Said it's time to move on from Donald Trump. I think that's a big part of the equation here. Why else do you think he lost this endorsement? Why are you the better man for the job?
Look, I think it's just history. I mean, John Cornyn was opposed to the president in 2016, said he was an albatross around our necks. Of course, you cited the 2024 race where he suggested that Trump was guilty of crimes and that his day had passed. And I think it's also just siding with Joe Biden on restricting Second Amendment rights. It's siding with Joe Biden. John Cornyn sided with Joe Biden on bringing Afghan refugees here without vetting them. He opposed the border wall and has said it numerous times. He's been for amnesty. He's pushed forward with spending since he's been there. The budget deficit's gone from $6.2 trillion to over $38 trillion. So he's not been part of the solution. He's been in opposition to the solution, and I think Donald Trump knows that. Yeah. He's smart. Yeah. And the people of Texas, especially the Republican Party, we've got it figured out.
The president wrote, it might be the longest Truth Social we've ever seen, and it was about you today. And he's had some doozies, by the way. He wrote, Ken is a strong supporter of terminating the filibuster and, very importantly, the Save America Act, which polls something which polls at 87% in this country, including Democrats, and yet can't seem to get approved. Perhaps Ken can help move these important elements of government forward. That's been a big frustration with John Thune. I think that also came into play here. Do you think the president might have withheld this endorsement for a while to try and force Thune to do some things he wanted to do?
Yeah, look, I don't blame him. The Save America Act is more important than it's the most important act that I've seen in decades, because if we can't protect our elections in Democratic states because they have non-citizens voting, because their mail-in ballot fraud is massive, because they don't have photo ID, we're going to lose the country. And if we lose a few more states, we're never going to control this country with actual real elections. So I don't blame the president for using that as a piece to try to get the Save America Act passed. It is so important. It's more important than me. It's more important than even my race. It's the most important issue we have in America right now.
Yeah. The president, real quick before I let you go, assuming things go your way on Tuesday, you'll be up against James Tallarico in November, if that happens. The very strange guy, kind of a woke religious guy, which is very bizarre in Texas, I would imagine. The president talked about him recently. Take a listen.
The Democrats have a weird candidate. 6 genders, a real hit on Jesus. I mean, this guy is bad news.
I know there's a lot of Democrats in Texas, but are they this brand of them? I mean, are they, like you said, that's very bizarre coastal Washington State, California kind of politics this guy's spewing. How does that work in Texas?
Yeah, the president is not wrong. Once we highlight his views, I mean, they asked him the other day, what does he think about in his spare time? And he said, I think about transgender children. I thought, what a strange answer. I think highlighting that for the voters, even Democrats, I think many reasonable Democrats are going to have trouble viewing him as the guy that should lead the U.S. Senate from Texas. I just don't see it happening in Texas once people understand that he is not what they think he is.
Yeah. It's a strange bird. I agree with that. Ken Paxton, good to see you, sir. Congratulations today.
Good to see you, too. It's a great day.
All right, Mercedes Schlapp, senior fellow at CPAC, Amy Robbins, host of the Amy Robbins Show. Join us now. We're going to talk more about these primaries. Mercedes, I want to start with you. I want to talk about Thomas Massie, the congressman from Kentucky. The polls have just closed in his state. Trump backing Ed Galrain on the left there. After Thomas Massie has kind of objected to the president on a number of different issues, including the big, beautiful bill, Iran, the Epstein files. Take a listen to the president talking about Massie.
Thomas Massie's a terrible congressman. He's been a terrible congressman from day one. Dealing with him is just a horrible. I don't think he's a Republican. I think he's actually a Democrat. He votes against us all the time. The rhinos are gone to a large extent. A few of them are still left, so hopefully we get rid of one tonight in the form of Tom Massie, who's horrible.
So just to sum up for everybody, we've had Massie on this show. He usually has some interesting perspectives, but he's gone against Trump very heavily on the Epstein files, saying that Trump has not released them enough or fast enough. He was not vocal at all when the administration released nothing at all. Also on federal spending, voting against the big, beautiful bill. More recently, very critical of the president on Iran. Mercy, what do you think about what the president's trying to do here in Kentucky?
Well, I mean, the president is the kingmaker. I mean, he is shaping the future of the Republican Party by ensuring that we have MAGA loyalists that are going to be fighters within the state, not only in the state level, but at the federal level as well, in the House of Representatives and in the Senate. And the president obviously has been very effective. And I think you're seeing Galrain take the lead. I think Massie will go down tonight. And I think that also this decision by the president to endorse Ken Paxton is such a bold and important decision, because I got to tell you, when we were down there at CPAC, all the Texans we talked to, and it showed in the polls, it was very clear that Ken Paxton is the choice of the conservatives down in Texas.
Yeah, it certainly is. Amy, as we just look at the live results, we just saw about a 10-point lead for Galrain. Again, very early in the counting here. That could shift. I think a lot of people can appreciate, there's voices like Massie, like Rand Paul, that take interesting perspectives that aren't part of the groupthink in Washington. And I think that is, sometimes that's honorable. I think, though, when you're the president and you're trying to get stuff done, and you have people always objecting when you're trying to get something really big done. You don't see that happening on the other side. The Democrats whip them good. They all stick together, and you can't get something done because you have one or two people that want to, grandstand. That's very frustrating to him.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. And everybody knows that President Trump values loyalty. And right now he is trying to get some major things pushed through that he cannot simply keep having this pushback from these people who are supposed to be make America great again and make America first again proponents. And so we're seeing this time and time again. I think these elections and these primaries are extremely important, because what we're seeing right now is a major test of President Trump's endorsement power, but also how strong the America First wing is heading into those primaries. So yes, all eyes are going to be on Kentucky, but there's some other important races as well that we should keep our eyes on. Like you mentioned earlier, Georgia, we have the opportunity to possibly unseat a very vulnerable Democrat senator right now. So keep eyes on that as well. And just pay attention to these candidates that are going to be speaking up for America First policies. As
we look at the Massie headquarters here, everyone waiting for the results to come in. Mercedes, the president just took out Bill Cassidy over the weekend. The senator, he waited years for that. I mean, the Senate it's only every 6 years. He had voted to convict Trump over January 6th years ago, gone against the president, many other issues as well. The president also going after Lauren Boebert also. Are you worried about what this does to the party?
I think that when it comes to Lauren Boebert, I think she's actually she's a MAGA. She's America First. And she's not going to agree with the president on Thomas Massie. She's friends with Thomas Massie, and she decided to campaign with him. And I think she gave the right answer of saying, look, I'm going to be America First. And I think that relationship can heal, as opposed to what we saw with Marjorie Taylor Greene. But I think the president is going to be very vocal, as we have seen, and very focused on ensuring that we see MAGA First candidates, and not having just what I would say these people who, a lot of these politicians sometimes that just try to be, conservatives for the sake of being conservatives, because it's all about being quote unquote principled, without having the common sense behind them to get the action done, to get President Trump's agenda done, because we have a very limited window, and we need fighters right now at the federal level, at the state level, at the local level, to ensure that we get these America First policies implemented.
Well, Cassidy's gone. It looks like there's a good chance Cornyn will be gone in about a week. We're going to see about Thomas Massie here, probably perhaps before the end of the show. Maybe. We'll see. Certainly by the end of the night. Mercedes Schlapp, Amy Robbins, good to see you both. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, up next, the latest developments on Iran. Trump weighs more bombs or starving the regime out of power, as the Strait of Hormuz remains mostly closed, and the Senate just had a big vote on that as well. All that coming up on Iran with Blaine Holt. Plus later, news from the left after invading the UK. Deportees on a flight back to Pakistan get one last taste of the West.
Information. Truth. Is power. Is freedom. Is money. Is health. Is Newsmax. Millions watch it. So can you. Newsmax is real news for real people.
I lost 110 pounds. You couldn't tell it all because of my excess skin. Sono Bello changed that in one visit.
Introducing the new Lift EX, the just one visit, total body transformation everyone is talking about.
I am super happy with my results.
I decided to give Sono Bello a try. Look at me, I have a silhouette. You can see my waist.
Lift EX is Sono Bello's breakthrough 360-degree body lift alternative. Our body contouring experts sculpt, tighten, and lift your stomach, waist, thighs, and backside, all in just one visit with less downtime.
Sono Bello targeted the areas diet exercise could not do. I found me again.
Sono Bello has over 50,000 five-star reviews, and Lift EX is exclusively available at Sono Bello, America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist. Book your free, personalized consultation today. Easy monthly plans make your best body more affordable than ever.
This year is my year thanks to Sono Bello.
Call Sono Bello for your free consultation today.
Protect your family. Buy LifeVac now.
Thank you, Daddy.
That was us over 10 years ago from LifeVac's first commercial in our living room.
Now LifeVac has saved 5,000 lives all over the world. All these people were saved by LifeVac.
Thousands of people choke to death every year, one child every 5 days.
These tragedies don't have to happen. LifeVac is the only FDA-authorized anti-choking device. Please consider protecting yourself, your family, your community. Go to lifevac.com today.
Thanks, Dad.
This little light of mine has been dark for quite some time. Then I let in the light to help see more of the light inside of me.
I needed more from my antidepressant, so my doctor added Caplyta, proven to provide greater relief from depression symptoms than an antidepressant alone, building on my progress without starting over. Weight gain and reported sexual side effects were not common.
Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke. Caplyta is not approved for dementia-related psychosis. Call your doctor about new or sudden mood changes, behaviors, or suicidal thoughts right away. Antidepressants may increase these risks. Report fever, confusion, stiff muscles, which may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High cholesterol and weight gain may occur, as can high blood sugar, which may be fatal. Common side effects are sleepiness, dizziness, nausea, dry mouth, feeling tired, and diarrhea. These aren't all the side effects.
Ask your doctor about Caplyta.
Help see more of the light inside of me.
We may have to give him another big hit. I'm not sure yet. You'll know very soon. Good job.
How close were you to striking around?
I was an hour away. We were all set to go. You're talking about yesterday.
Yes.
We were going to be striking it would have been happening right now. Yeah, it was all done. The boats, the ships are all loaded. They're loaded to the brim. And we were all set to start.
President hanging out there by the ballroom construction and making some comments on Iran earlier today, weighing his options on Iran after delaying that bombing campaign yesterday at the last minute. Optimism that a deal could be reached was the reason. It's hard to imagine. Iran likes to delay. They're very clever at doing this, give you the hope that something is changing. Here was the vice president today from the briefing room.
We think that we've made a lot of progress. We think the Iranians want to make a deal, but there's an option B. And the option B is that we could restart the military campaign, but that's not what the president wants. We're locked and loaded. We don't want to go down that pathway, but the president is willing and able to go down that pathway if we have to.
Retired Air Force Brigadier General Blaine Holt back with us tonight to talk about this. The president is maybe being too patient with Iran. What do you think? Or does he simply just not want to go back into this war right now?
No, he's not being too patient. Here's the thing. Everybody's worried that Iran is magically reconstituting itself, getting ready for another war. Yeah. It has all kinds of missiles. Nothing could be further from the truth. Iran's demands are based on just machinations to tell the 90 million Iranians we're still in control of the board here. What President Trump is doing is saying, look, if my allies in the Arab world want us to hold off a little bit because they think there's something there, well, we'll acquiesce. But let's be very clear. Iran is now dumping over 80,000 barrels now into the Straits of Hormuz of oil, and we have to get those oil fields well. So there's only so much time where we're actually going to have to step in on Karg, and we're going to have to stoke this revolution. And there's no way this regime is going to stay in place, and there's no way that there's going to be any kind of uranium deal in the future. But we have to be patient because we're bringing along many different cultures, allies, and their own perspectives.
Hold on. Let me just. You just said there's no way this regime stays in place. You seem to to be more optimistic than you were when we spoke last week. I mean, everybody's talking about how Iran has gotten back 30 of their 33 weapons depots where they fire missiles from in the Strait. You think that's all nonsense from the New York Times?
Yeah, it's all nonsense.
Yeah.
And look, last night on Iranian TV, they were showing Kalashnikovs and AK-47s on TV and saying, look at what we have to go fight the Americans. That's not for us. That's for the Iranian people to say, look what we'll do to you if you want to come at us. And the Iranian people are not buying it. Look, this is the final act. Beijing is now behind us, and we're going to have to clean up the straits. We're going to have to get the oil going. And that's exactly what President Trump's going to do with his allies.
How do we do that? How do we accomplish that? Because that's the big deal, right? Is getting all of that oil out of the Persian Gulf, getting that moving again.
Secure Karg Island. We have the preponderance of forces to do that. Yes, that will be some limited boots on the ground, but they'll have air cover. And then we're going to bring alongside empty ships. We're going to load up that oil. We're going to get it out into the ocean, and we're going to let the rest of the Straits of Hormuz flow. And Lloyd's of London better get interested in writing insurance wrappers and not intimidating its customers, or we're going to intervene there too.
Always an interesting perspective. Brigadier General Blaine Holt, good to see you, sir. Thank you so much. All right.
Absolutely.
All right. One of the first big calls of the night, Newsmax projecting Andy Barr to win the Republican Senate primary in Kentucky, expected to replace Mitch McConnell in the Senate. That is a safe seat. So that's the one where tonight the primary is kind of the election. And Andy Barr has looks like he's going to take it with only 11% of the votes in. Newsmax projecting that one is in. Okay. Results beginning to come in for multiple states, including the closely watched race for Thomas Massie's Kentucky seat. It's pouring in now. We could have results here any minute. We're going to bring you those throughout the show. Also in Alabama, the governor's race, our friend Tommy Tuberville, the senator, wants to run the state. And it looks like he's got a great shot at it. He's up next.
The human brain is truly incredible. It's a complex network of 100 billion neurons that create cognitive functions surpassing that of supercomputers. Our brain controls our thoughts, our emotions, and our movements. Prevagen contains apoaquarin, originally discovered in jellyfish, and is designed specifically for the brain to help keep it amazing, so that we can continue to live our best life. Prevagen, for your brain.
IRS. 3 letters that strike fear into everyone, and for good reason. The IRS is the most powerful collection agency on earth, and being in debt to the IRS can have serious consequences. Oftentimes it begins with the IRS sending you a collection letter, but then escalates, and before you know it, you're having your paychecks garnished, your bank account seized, even your home or business could be at risk.
My problem was I hadn't paid my taxes in 8 years. I was trying to take on the IRS by myself. I have 5 children, I'm trying to take care of my kids, and it was a lot of stress.
I owed the IRS over $10,000. They told me the possibilities of garnishing my wages to resolve this debt that I owed them.
I owed a lot of money to the IRS, almost $15,000. Well, there was nothing I could do about it. I was just overwhelmed at what to do.
These stories are all too common, but thankfully there's Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 most trusted tax resolution firm. Optima's experts have helped thousands of people with stories just like these resolve their tax debt.
I owe $15,000. I only had to pay $3,500, and now my debt is clean. I don't owe anything. It was easy, like 1, 2, 3.
Since I've settled everything with the IRS, with Optima Tax help, I'm going to be able to succeed instead of just worry.
They sent the paperwork in for the debt to be cleared, the liens to be taken off. Now I'm a happy camper now. If you owe the IRS, don't go it alone. Give Optima Tax a call.
So don't wait. Today you have options. Tomorrow you might not. Optima's tax professionals are standing by, ready to help you now.
For a free consultation, call 800-375-1215. That's 800-375-1215.
Optima Tax Relief.
Doctors recommend turmeric more than any other supplement for joint health. I trust Cunol Ultra High Absorption Turmeric, made with the #1 doctor recommended form of turmeric, clinically tested to support joint health and a healthy inflammation response. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Spring. Things out here have gotten a little too comfortable. It's time to run it. Run it until the grass becomes a lawn. Until the hedges duck for cover. Then run it again. Right now, save $30 on select trimmers. Steel.
All right, welcome back. It is election night across the country. Results are beginning to come in, and Lidia Curanaj has the very latest on that. A quick hit from the newsroom. Lydia, go ahead.
That's right. Lots of consequential races tonight. Let's focus on Kentucky and Georgia. We're seeing right here Ed Galerin up against Tom Massie. Looks like he's leading him by 10 points right there. And as we talked about earlier, the polls just closed a short time ago. The Trump-backed candidates are surging, proving that the MAGA movement, Rob, is alive and as strong as ever. So let's now, after Kentucky, let's now go over to Georgia, where we have the race for governor is up for grabs right now. Let's pull up Georgia right now. Do we have Georgia? Or we're going to Massie right now. Massie has stay on Massie, has frequently clashed with Trump on major issues, including the Epstein files, Iran, the big beautiful bill. And now we have Georgia. The Georgia GOP primary here. We have Burt Jones up against Rick Jackson. Of course, Republican Governor Kemp, he is term limited. Burt Jones, he is Trump-backed candidate, 38%. To Rick Jackson, he's a wealthy businessman, 35%. Now let's go to the runoff race right here, the U.S. Senate GOP primary. We've got Mike Collins up against Buddy Carter. Mike Collins with 44% there. Buddy Carter, 28%. So we have these Georgia election results. They are trickling in, and we are following these races very closely. Of course, these primaries, a litmus test on the power of Trump as the nation heads towards one of the most consequential midterm elections in our history. Rob, back to you.
It certainly is. Lydia, thanks so much. All right, turning now to the Alabama governor's race. Polls have been closed since the start of the show. We're awaiting the results on the Republican winner of the primary, who will very likely be the next governor of the state. The Senator Tommy Tuberville has the best shot at it, and he joins us now. Sir, it's good to see you. How you feeling tonight?
Well, I feel good, Rob. It's been a long year. I announced, I guess about 14 months ago, that I was going to give up my Senate seat and move and run for the governor's seat, and it's gone well. People have accepted us well. We've still been working hard in the Senate. It's a big night for our country, all these primaries, and it's a huge night for President Trump and MAGA. Yeah. I just heard some of your results, and they sound very good at the very beginning.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're the kind of politician that the president really appreciates, because you you stick with him and you stick with the party, which is what he's always been so envious of on the other side. The Democrats are like glue. They're all glued together, and they don't ever shake from each other. So as far as what he's doing tonight with Massie, what he did with Bill Cassidy, your colleague, over the weekend, your reaction to that?
Well, we pretty much knew it was coming with Bill Cassidy. You can't vote to impeach President Trump from his own party. I mean, most of the people that voted against him are gone. I like Senator Cassidy. I was on one of his committees, the Help Committee. But at the end of the day, loyalty plays big in our country, especially in the MAGA movement. And President Trump came out against him, and when that happened, it was all over for him.
I want to talk about, assuming tonight goes the way we think it will go for your campaign, you're going to be up against likely to be, I guess, Doug Jones. He's called your past so-called anti-Muslim rhetoric as vile. He says that Alabama also makes it hard to vote. Tell me about Doug Jones.
Well, he's right about the Muslim part, but he's not right about the hard to vote. It's easy to vote in this state, but you have to have a driver's license or a photo ID. What an idea, right? It is a proud moment to be able to cast your vote for the leaders of the country or your city or your state. At the end of the day, people need to be qualified. They need to be citizens to vote, and that's the reason we're trying to get the Save America Act. President Trump just wants wants it very simple. Let's pass this. Let's make it fair for everybody, not just Republicans, but also Democrats.
Your reaction to the Supreme Court and the redistricting and how that's going to affect your state. You're one of the states that's going to be impacted by this.
Well, as I've told everybody, gerrymandering started by the Democrats. They've absolutely controlled the Northeast. There's no representation in the top 9 or 10 states in the Northeast from the Republican side, and we average 35 or 40%. And so they started it, and as I tell everybody, we're going to finish it. And, if they didn't start this, we wouldn't have finished it, but we're going to do what we need to do to make sure that we're represented in our state and across the South.
Yeah. Senator Tommy Tuberville running for governor of the state of Alabama. We're waiting for those results to come in, and we're rooting for you. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Rob.
All right. A wild post for the President of the United States. Look closely at that. There's a lot going on regarding UFOs and the release of all this information from our government. We're going to talk about that up next with Jeremy Corbell.
I'm Yalmer Heinrich. I'm in the nutritional business, primarily selling plant-derived minerals. Now, after being in this business for 43 years, owning a cancer hospital in Mexico, and associating with some of the most knowledgeable nutritional people in the world, I came to this conclusion. The world is sick due to a lack of minerals in our food, which is caused by a lack of minerals in topsoil. There is an incredible and proven nutritional product on the market that can overcome this problem. It's Immuno 150. This unusual food supplement contains 70 plant-derived minerals and 80 additional nutrients. There's nothing like it. Now watch the 3 videos on our website and place your order for what may be the best food supplement in the world. Now Immuno 150 is different, it's real, it's powerful, it's helped thousands, and we believe it enjoys the highest reorder rate in the industry. Thank you and God bless.
Forget the warm-up. DirecTV got hot. They're on fire with more MLB games than anyone.
Welcome to the big leagues, kid.
How old are you?
11.
If you've lived through numerous presidents and multiple recessions, you've seen what happens to the world economy when things get rough. And if you're looking for protection for your hard-earned savings, then look no further than American Hartford Gold. Unlike stocks, crypto, real estate, gold and silver can protect you against inflation and recessions. It's a hedge against all the things you don't want to happen to your hard-earned dollars. And with American Hartford Gold, you'll get the #1 precious metals dealer in the country and their support in making sure your money is protected by gold and silver.
Makes me feel secure having that investment there because it's not fluctuating as the market is, and it's something that you can just hold on to.
In today's day and age, you want to invest in something that is real. I think everyone should pick up the phone and call American Hartford Gold.
American Hartford Gold is the trusted leader in precious metals. Our dedicated team will work closely with you to guide you through the purchase process to help secure your future. Plus, every purchase comes with a 100% satisfaction guarantee.
Owning gold gives me a sense that it's not going to just evaporate before my very eyes. I can hold it in my hand, I can touch it, I can go spend it.
I really look at American Hartford Gold in the category of a friend, somebody that I could trust and somebody that I have confidence in.
Whether you've never owned precious metals or you're an experienced buyer, American Hartford Gold's winning reputation and best-in-class customer service will keep you coming back for years. You've worked hard over a lifetime, and that money deserves the protection that you can only find in precious metals. When you call today, ask about the exclusive Freedom Package for new customers and get your free guide to buying precious metals. Call now.
As part of our special TV offer, when you call now, you can get our free guide and the Freedom Package. This includes up to $20,000 in free silver on qualifying purchases, plus free account setup, free shipping, and more. Call now. 855-313-1143. That's 855-313-1143.
Welcome back. A little breaking news. The president's speaking right now at the White House, the congressional picnic. Let's listen in for just a second.
There's no death tax on your farm, on your small business. Nobody thought that was possible. So if you love your children, You can leave your business to your children. You can leave your farm to your children, and they'll be very happy. Now, if you don't love your children, don't bother. Then it doesn't matter. What I'm saying is just a big waste of time. But if you love, think of it. You have no death tax. You have no estate tax. You can leave it to your children, and we love that. It was so important to me. We've restored the American strength on the world stage. We're respected all over the world. You might have seen I was in China a few days ago with President Xi, and it was some display. We had a great time, but we also got a lot of business done, a lot of great business for our farmers with soybeans, record purchases of soybeans and lots of other things. And they're buying many, many Boeing airplanes. And
all right, so the president there talking about the trip to China, securing a lot of ag deals with the Chinese government, also talking about no tax on tips, no death tax, getting the government out of your pocket. We're going to follow this. See breaks any news, we'll have it for you. All right, the Pentagon announcing since launching their new UFO website as they reveal all this to the public a little over a week ago, they've had 1 billion visits, 1 billion with a B, to that website. Americans clearly want UFO transparency. We all want to know if there is proof that we are not alone and there's proof being concealed from us. Investigative reporter Ross Coulthart writes, I'm told the President of the United States is indeed now briefed on the legacy UAP crash retrieval program. The president knows much more now than the original UAP brief sent to the White House in his first term. And then this week, President Trump actually posted an AI image that we all thought was like, okay, himself walking next to the tall gray alien, presumably at some sort of military base. What to make of all of this? Jeremy Corbell is an investigative journalist. He looks into UFOs, and he's the producer of the new film Sleeping Dog, exposing the truth behind decades of cover-up surrounding UFOs and possible extraterrestrial life. Jeremy, it's good to have you back on again. I want to talk about your film here in a second, but first I just want to start with what the president's been briefed on, the legacy UAP crash retrieval program, your reaction to that, what it is, and also that picture.
Yeah, so that picture is just showing for, public interest, yeah. and it is pretty cool that he put that out. He also congressionally mandated transparency about the UAP thing. And you and I have been talking about this for years. UFOs are not a matter of belief. It's either true or not true. And we've had 3 hearings on UAP since we last talked, which means that people have stood up there, raised their hand and said, yeah, not only are UFOs real, but we have their craft. We've been exploiting them for derivative technologies, and some of them have pilots, beings, non-human intelligence, they call it. So these are like career Navy and intelligence people. Right. So now it's time to open the books, and that's what President Trump ordered.
Are we going to get the full transparency? There's a lot of people that think that no matter how much you demand it, there's certain things the government will not give us.
Right. So we are holding them accountable. I'll be very specific. There are 46 videos. George Knapp and I, my partner in journalism, an investigative reporter as well, we put forward 46 file names. And I was told directly from Representative Luna, Representative Burleson, and Representative Burchett that we are getting those 46 videos come hell or high water. It would be a great data set for the public to see what George Knapp and I have seen. It's a good start. Yeah. The whole thing, I don't know, the world's ready for it, but let's see.
Well, yeah, let's see. I always go back to that 60 Minutes and those USS Nimitz pilots that saw the Tic Tac, right. And they're just like, it was the middle of the day. It was clear as anything. Thing drops from 80,000 feet, which is like space, down to right above the water. I mean, it's just like, if you see these people that are so credible, and you're thinking, there must be more. There's got to be something that we know, if there is indeed something. I want to show a clip of your film, Sleeping Dog. Take a listen.
As an investigative journalist who helped obtain and release the DoD footage of UFOs.
I'm afraid he's going to die.
Years ago, I went searching for the truth about UFOs, and I found it.
They have between 30 and 50 alien bodies.
The position of trust I had at the highest levels, being briefed into all the national secrets.
They're not going to come after you, not only you, they're going to come after your family.
Tell us a little bit about the film and how much you think is being concealed from us at this point.
Yeah, watch the film and this is the film that they did not want out. It's called Sleeping Dog for a reason. A kid turned around and filmed me for 2 years after I gave him 20 years of my footage. So it's technically not my film. The film was made about my journalism with George Knapp. You see in that film 8 military film videos of UAP that they didn't want you to see. This was a provocation, and guess what? It worked. They have said they're releasing those 46 files. So this movie was a way to provoke and to keep honest and to keep accountable our government about hiding the UAP issue from humanity, from human beings, from us for a long time. It's nonpartisan. This is not political. No. This is what it means to be human. So no one can hold that back from us, whatever the truth might be. But if you watch the film Sleeping Dog, it's on Amazon, it's on Apple right now, watch it and you'll understand there were intelligence agencies pressuring journalists to be silent about it, and you get to see that.
Why would you be pressuring journalists to be silent if there's nothing to be silent about? There it is right there. Jeremy Corbell, good to have you as always, my friend. Thank you.
Good to see you. Thank you so much.
Of course. All right, we've got a major projection here. This was the race everybody wanted to watch tonight, and Newsmax can project Ed Galbraith will win the Kentucky GOP primary. That means the incumbent Thomas Massie, critic of the president, is going to be out of a job, and that is the Massie headquarters right there. And it's not looking too chipper at this moment. We're not sure if they have those results. We may be one of the first to project this race. It was about 10 points up, but the projection is in that Massie will lose. Ed Galbraith, the president's choice for that seat in Kentucky, will win the primary and move on to November, where very likely that he takes the cake and gets the seat. All right, coming up here after the break, unionized hotel maids in New York are now making 6 figures. That's next in News from the Left.
If you want to be ready for summer, now's the time to call Sono Bello. Sono Bello helped me target the spots that diet and exercise never could.
Sono Bello gave me my bikini body back.
At Sono Bello, our expert surgeons remove stubborn fat permanently and tighten loose skin in one visit with less downtime. Every treatment plan is personalized for your body, your goals, and the results that you want to achieve.
Walking around this summer with my shirt off, it's the best decision I've ever made.
I see my spark back, and I am so glad that I went with Sono Bello because they have truly changed my life.
With over 50,000 5-star reviews, Sono Bello is America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist. I love wearing a bikini again and not having to cover up. See what's possible for you. Schedule your free consultation today. I got my summer body at Sono Bello. Get your summer body back. Do this for you. And our flexible payment options make it easy to get started today. Call now or go to sonobello.com for your free personalized consultation. It's your life. Live it beautifully.
You can join the Tunnel to Towers mission to do good by donating your car to today's veterans. Your car donation will help Gold Star families, as well as injured veterans, our first responders, and our homeless veterans. Donating your car is quick and simple. Any car is accepted, and we will pick up the car for free. Simply call 844-BRAVES.
By donating your car, you can make a real difference. You can do good.
My friends, I come to you today on behalf of the Jewish people in Ukraine whose lives have been completely destroyed. Family and loved ones brutally killed. The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews is inside of Ukraine, providing emergency food and supplies to tens of thousands of people. But the food crisis is growing for Jewish families and especially for the elderly.
I am shocked how many elderly people came here. They're afraid, and they realize now that there are more people than boxes.
For just $25, you can help rush an emergency food box to the elderly Jews in Ukraine. Many of them are hungry, frightened, and alone. Your gift helps provide critical food when it's needed most. Call or go online now.
The people of Ukraine are caught in the crosshairs of war. Many of these precious people are Holocaust survivors, elderly Jews who are sick and dying. They have no food, and we must reach them now before it's too late.
The world is in a war again. I am alone. I'm afraid of the bombs. I'm scared. I am old. There is no food.
Just $25 helps rush emergency food to elderly Jews in Ukraine who are in urgent need today. Please call, scan, or go online right now.
I will not starve. Thank you, good people.
We can be the hope to the Jewish people who are suffering in Ukraine. Your help is desperately needed now.
Kevin Sorbo here, and I have an important message to share. The government needs more money, your money. If you owe the IRS back taxes, they can garnish your wages and levy your bank accounts. They can even seize your retirement or take your home. Don't let the IRS target you. Call the professionals at Tax Network USA. Their tax lawyers and enrolled agents are experts in powerful programs that may even help you eliminate your tax debt.
Call for a free consultation or visit tnusa.com.
Welcome back. Time now for news from the left. A human rights report revealing that Pakistani fake asylum seekers being deported from Ireland were served a very offensive last meal on their flight back to Pakistan. Sausage, as part of a full Irish breakfast served to a plane full of Pakistani men, the first charter deportation flight that transported 24 of them back to Pakistan. A monitor for Ireland's DOJ complaining that the quality of the food provided was of a lower standard than expected, and the serving of pork sausages as part of a full Irish breakfast was inappropriate for Islamic men. The monitor understood halal food would be available, but was not specified in the flight brief, is the claim there. I guess the message is, if you're going to come invade the West, you might want to get used to our cuisine, and we do eat some pigs in this part of the world. Next up, Michelle Obama says America is a very bad place.
The country feels like it has a hole in it, and it's a little
like
rusty.
a hole in the car?
Yeah, like a hole in the car, that we're messy right now, that we're confused, that we're upside down. That's what it feels like.
Yeah. You know what? This country got along pretty well until she and her husband came into Washington and divided the hell out of it with race and Marxism and all the other nonsense that they brought. I don't think she has much room to talk, but she's going to talk anyway because they're not getting along and she's got nothing else to do, right? Next up, the Nazi rhetoric returns. Here's Beta Mayor Jacob Frey from Minneapolis. Take a listen.
ICE is not just the federal police force that he's developed. It is his. And there's a historical analog here, which is the SS. The SS was unaccountable to the parliament. They answered only to Hitler.
Yeah, that's the idiot, by the way, that just handed all of our money to every Somalian in his city. Just so you remember that. Next up, Liz Warren attacking Republicans over Trump's ballroom after suing the administration to prevent that ballroom from being fully funded by private donors.
This is how much money that Republicans are trying to shovel into Trump's gold-encrusted ballroom. And the cost to cover free school lunch for every public school kid in the whole state of Arkansas for a year. This is how much it would cost to cover insulin copays for every person with diabetes in Massachusetts for a year. Your tax dollars should be used to make your life better, not for some Trump gold-encrusted vanity project.
It could have been all privately funded. She demanded it wasn't so she could complain about it now. And isn't it so funny how the people that never do anything for the American people suddenly would do so much if they just had access to the dollars, if they had control of the dollars. When they have control of the dollars and they tax the hell out of us, nothing like that ever gets done. There's no free lunch for anybody. The president speaking to reporters today, by the way, bragging about the new ballroom and how incredible it'll be as a security apparatus for the White House. Take a listen to this.
The roof is a barrier. It's a shield because it's made out of the sidewalls are steel, impenetrable steel, and also impenetrable glass. All of these columns, they go directly right to the roof of the building. And again, we call it a drone port. It's set up for unlimited numbers of drones.
Now, remember when I first talked to him about this, he said, wait till you see what we put underneath this thing. It is a veritable bunker. And he said that's why it's so expensive, not because of the pictures you're looking at, what's beneath it and the security of it. And finally, news from the left, the average pay of hotel housekeepers at New York City hotels is moving to over $100,000 a year to be a maid at a hotel. Part of a contract settlement between, of course, a trade group and a very powerful union. 250 hotels in the city reached this agreement. And if you want to know why this city is so expensive, you have two things to thank for that. You've got the Democrat Party and you've got these massive unions. And that is why blue states have this huge affordability problem that they all like to blame on Donald Trump. It's their own fault. All right, coming up after the break, an update on the night's events. Stay tuned.
Closed captioning is brought to you by MagnaLife Pain Relieving Foot Cream to target neuropathy symptoms.
The stabbing, burning pain in your feet is real. Here's what real customers have to say about MagnaLife Pain Relieving Foot Cream, the only thing that works for my diabetic neuropathy.
Available in foot care and diabetic aisles.
What if you're sick at home or traveling and can't get medical help or prescriptions? Doctors say a medical emergency kit is the answer. Joining me is Dr. Drew.
Thank you. And yes, these kits put you in charge of your health. They come with physician-prescribed medication to treat multiple common and some serious issues as well.
What are some examples?
Sure. Generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other essential antibiotics and antivirals that treat flu, pneumonia, strep, ear infections, sinus infections, urinary tract infections, and more.
So it is like urgent care and a pharmacy at home?
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no co-pays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
How do you know what medicines to take?
You just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Sound advice. Order online in minutes at the website below and save $45. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Your neighbor just paid an enormous amount for a new roof, but he didn't have to, and neither do you. Because Roofmax can add years of life to your current roof.
Here's how you know you have a problem with your roof. Black streaking, your roof looks rough, or granules shedding off into your gutters or showing up in your driveway. Your roof is wearing out too fast, and it's going to cost you a bundle. Roofmax makes your roof like new by strengthening and rejuvenating it.
Get your roof treated now, but pay later, with no payments for a full year.
As history's preeminent expert on emergency communication, I fully endorse Rapid Radios. They are the only nationwide license-free push-to-talk walkie-talkies without any monthly fees. That's right, you get access to most carriers' networks without a contract. With Rapid Radios, you can communicate instantly from this Washington to that one. Isn't that right, George?
Darn straight. And I don't lie. That's my thing.
Now I know what you're thinking. I don't need no fancy highfalutin walkie-talkie. I've got a cell phone. Cell phones are notoriously unreliable during emergencies and when you're in the middle of nowhere. Plus, rapid radios are great for remote adventures, emergency preparedness, and workplace communications, and for keeping in touch with your loved ones.
Hey, Pa. Over.
You make me so proud, son. Over. Get your family connected with Rapid Radios today.
Go to rapidradios.com and get up to 60% off today. Plus, free shipping. Rapid Radios, the best way to stay connected.
Finally tonight, does high school ever end? California governor candidate Tom Steyer reportedly has to pay to be popular in his state, sending money to influencers and meme accounts, some of whom didn't disclose they were being paid by him to support him. California's Fair Political Practice Commission alleging Steyer campaign failed to notify the influencers that hired of their obligation to inform their audience when their posts sponsoring Tom Steyer. As a law in 2023 that did that. New York Post also reporting that he paid Jane Fonda to root for him as well. And it just goes to show that I guess high school never really does end. The nerdy guy's got to do anything he can to be cool and pay to be popular as he runs for governor in the state. What an embarrassing story for a very weird guy. And as we go to Finnerty here, the big news of the night that I'm sure he's going to get into is Thomas Massie, the end of his political career, it would seem. Rob Finnerty is up next. Wild night in Kentucky.
Power of the Trump endorsement on display over the last couple of days. And I don't think we're going to get into it tonight. I don't think we've ever seen something like this where the American people a certain group in the public, voters, have a connection with a politician like we've seen with voters in Donald Trump. It's just unbelievable. On display again tonight. Thomas Massie out of Congress. Rob, good to see you. We'll do it again tomorrow night. Finnerty starts right now.